You said you were done with it. You meant it. Then the day went sideways. Maybe your boss sent a message at 4:47 p.m. That sounded harmless. Maybe you ate dinner alone, opened TikTok for a second, and looked up an hour later with your food cold beside you. Maybe it was 1:13 in the morning. YouTube was still playing, and you were already doing the math on how rough tomorrow was going to feel. Maybe you texted the person you promised yourself you were finished with. Maybe you opened a delivery app even though there was food in the fridge. Maybe you poured another drink when you weren't even enjoying the first one. Maybe you bought something you didn't need because the day felt flat and you wanted one part of it to feel good. You knew what came after: the fog, the guilt, the little promise you'd make in the morning, and you still did it. That's the part people miss when they're being hard on themselves. You don't keep going back because you're clueless. You know sleep matters, money matters, your body matters, your time matters, but for a few minutes the thing still does something. It takes the edge off. It gives your hands something to do. It fills the quiet part of the evening. It gives you somewhere to go when you don't want to be in your own head. And when life feels like too much, even a tiny exit can start to feel necessary. This isn't about becoming perfectly disciplined. It's about figuring out what the habit is still doing for you. Because until you understand its job, you'll keep trying to take it away, without replacing what it gave you. Then the same loop starts all over again. You make a big promise. You white-knuckle it for a while. Life gets stressful. You cave. Then you decide the whole thing proves something ugly about you. But the habit didn't come out of nowhere. There's usually a moment before it. It's small, ordinary, easy to miss. You get home, put your keys down, and the apartment is quiet. You're tired, but not tired enough to sleep. You see something online that makes you feel behind, and suddenly you want some proof that the evening belongs to you. Then the old move appears. The drink, the app, the delivery order, the cigarette, the shopping cart. The person who never quite leaves you feeling better. The version of the plan that says, "I'll just skip today." It can look like you're choosing an object. Usually, you're reaching for a feeling. Not happiness. That would be too generous a word. Relief. A little numbness. Comfort. Distance from whatever is happening in your head. That's why just stop is such weak advice. It asks you to remove the quickest relief you have, then act surprised when you reach for it again. Late-night food may be trying to solve exhaustion. Scrolling may be a way to avoid loneliness, restlessness, or the weird emptiness that shows up when the day gets quiet. A drink after work may be the only clear marker that the day is over. Shopping can offer a quick hit of control when the week feels out of your hands. The situationship you keep returning to may be a way to avoid being alone, even when it regularly makes you feel more alone. That doesn't make the behavior harmless. It makes it understandable, and understandable is where change starts. There are often two versions of you involved in this. There's the version at 11:30 in the morning, drinking coffee and making sensible plans. Then there's the version of you at 10:48 at night. That person has been dealing with people, obligations, work, traffic, noise, family stuff, Slack notifications. That person isn't looking for a philosophy. They're looking for 5 minutes of less. Less tension, less thinking, less feeling. The old habit makes a simple offer. Do this, and you don't have to be fully here for a while. That's hard to compete with using a vague promise about becoming better tomorrow. More often, your evening self simply has fewer resources to work with. By the time you're home, the easiest option already has a head start. So don't build your entire plan around being heroic at 11 p.m. Build it around knowing what 11 p.m. is like for you. That means you stop asking, "Why am I like this?" and ask something smaller. What happened right before I wanted this? Not after. Before. Were you hungry? Lonely? Overstimulated? Avoiding something that made you feel incompetent? Did you just leave a meeting where you felt invisible? Write it down once or twice. You don't need to turn it into a whole self-improvement project. A note on your phone is enough. Time, place, what happened, what you wanted, what you were feeling. You aren't building a case against yourself. You're looking for the pattern. Maybe you don't eat at random. It happens after arguments, after under-eating all day, Or when work runs late and you get home running on fumes. Maybe you only call your ex when you've been drinking. Maybe your phone problem starts the second you get into bed with no plan for the last hour of the night. Maybe the work you avoid isn't even work you hate. It's work that could expose you to judgment. Here's the first practical move. Don't make a permanent decision in the first 30 seconds of an urge. You don't have to swear off the thing forever. You don't need to stand in your kitchen staring at a bag of chips, trying to prove how tough you are. Give yourself one song, 3 or 4 minutes. Put the phone down. Leave the room. Stand by an open window. Wash one glass. Put your shoes on. Let the song finish before you decide what happens next. The point isn't to prove that you can suffer. You're interrupting the part where your body starts moving before your mind has caught up. You want to order food. Before you open the app, put the phone face down. Drink some water. Make tea. Step outside for 2 minutes. Then decide. You want to text them. Type the message in notes. Don't hit send. Play one song. Read it again when the song ends. You want another drink. Eat something real first. Take a shower. Sit down for a few minutes without pouring anything. Then see where you are. You want to keep watching. Stand up before the next episode starts. It changes the scene. It gives your body a second to notice that this is a decision, not autoplay doing the thinking for you. You want a cigarette. Walk once around the block before you light it. Notice what happens to the feeling. Maybe it gets louder. Maybe it softens. Maybe it shifts into something else. The urge may not disappear. That's okay. You're learning that it can move without being obeyed. An urge is information. It isn't an order. Here's the part people usually don't talk about. The habit doesn't just take time from you. After a while, it starts changing what you believe about yourself. You say you'll stop, then you don't. You say you'll start Monday, then Monday becomes Thursday, and Thursday somehow turns into next month. You tell yourself you'll only have one, only watch one, only spend this once, only check their profile for a second. Then you break your own rule again. At first, it's frustrating. Later, it gets personal. You stop trusting your own plans. You make smaller promises because bigger ones feel embarrassing. You stop saying, "I'm going to do this," and start saying, "We'll see." You avoid bringing it up because you've told the same story too many times. You might even stop wanting things that would be good for you because wanting them starts to feel like setting yourself up to fail. That's the hidden cost. It isn't only the lost sleep, the money, the food, the hangover, the missed workout, or the work you didn't finish. It's the slow erosion of self-trust. The part of you that used to believe your word meant something starts thinking, "Sure, we'll see how long that lasts." And once you lose that feeling, everything gets heavier. Making plans feels fake. Starting feels pointless. Even a normal Tuesday can feel like you're carrying around a tiny argument with yourself. That's why the smallest interruption matters. Skipping one late-night order doesn't turn you into a totally different person, but it gives you a little evidence. You said you'd wait for one song, and you waited. You said you'd take a walk before ordering food, and you did. You said you wouldn't text them while drunk, and you didn't. You said you'd open the document for 5 minutes, and you opened it. None of those things changes your whole life in one night. But they change the evidence, and evidence is what self-trust is built from. Not big speeches, not a new planner, not telling everyone that this time will be different. Small pieces of proof that you're still in there, that you still have some say. Maybe it starts with something almost stupidly small. You delete the cart before checkout. You move the phone to the other side of the room at 1:40 a.m. You don't call the whole night a loss just because you messed up at 11. Those moments count because they rebuild the part of you that can trust you again. There's another reason people get stuck. They try to replace a habit with something that doesn't actually help. You're stressed and someone says, "Just journal." You're lonely and someone says, "Take a bath." You're exhausted, and someone says, "Go for a run." Sometimes those things are great. Sometimes they're exactly what you need. And sometimes they feel like being handed a spreadsheet when your house is on fire. The replacement has to fit the job. If the habit gives you comfort, whatever replaces it needs to feel comforting. If the habit helps you come down after work, you need another way to mark the end of the day. If the habit gives you a feeling of control, you need something that gives you a little control back. A motivational quote probably won't compete with doomscrolling at midnight. You need something that works in the actual moment. Let's say you get home from work feeling fried. Your old routine is shoes off, phone out, couch, delivery app, and then 3 hours disappear. Telling yourself, "I won't do that tonight," doesn't give you much to work with. You need a landing routine, nothing fancy. Change clothes. Put on one album you know by heart. Eat something that takes zero thought. Take a shower. Sit in the car for 10 minutes before going inside. Walk around the block with no podcast, no productivity lesson, and no pressure to make it meaningful. Maybe you still order food sometimes. That's fine. You're allowed to have comfort. The point is to have more than one way to get it. Or say your thing is texting someone who hurts you. The old routine probably isn't as simple as I miss them. Maybe you feel rejected. You get bored, you see a photo, you drink, you get nostalgic. Then your brain starts editing a highlight reel and quietly cuts out all the parts that made you miserable. Be stronger won't help much in that moment. Make a practical rule instead. If I want to text them after 10 p.m., I write it in notes first. If I still want to send it tomorrow at noon, sober, fed, and in daylight, I can look at it again. That just gives tomorrow you a vote. This is where your environment matters more than people like to admit. People talk about discipline like it happens in a vacuum. It doesn't. Your room gets a vote. Your phone gets a vote. The route you drive home gets a vote. The food on the counter gets a vote. The person whose number is pinned at the top of your messages gets a vote. You don't have to ask your future, exhausted self to make every good decision from scratch. Make the old path a little less smooth. Move the delivery app off the home screen. Don't keep the food you're trying to stop eating in the exact spot you pass every night. Unfollow the account that reliably makes you feel like crap. Block the website during the hour you always lose to it. Leave your walking shoes by the door. Put the money you want to save somewhere it takes an extra step to reach. This isn't about tricking yourself. It's about being honest about how behavior works. A lot of decisions happen before you've had time to make a noble speech about who you want to be. It also helps to make a plan for the exact moment you usually lose. I'll be healthier. I'll stop wasting time. I'll never text them again. Those are wishes. They're not useless. But they don't tell you what to do at 10:48 p.m. when the old pattern shows up with its shoes on. Try an if-then plan. If this happens, then I do this. Keep it specific. Keep it boring. If I get into bed and want to scroll, I put my phone on the dresser and listen to one saved podcast with the screen off. If I want to order food after 9:30, I eat the meal I already bought first and wait 10 minutes before deciding. If I want to text my ex, I write it in notes or send it to my best friend. If I come home angry from work, I walk around the block before I go inside. If I miss the gym, I do 10 minutes at home instead of calling the whole week a write-off. If I'm about to buy something because I'm stressed, I put it on a list and check it tomorrow. Will that make you invincible? No, but it gives you something to do at the exact point where you usually have nothing except the old habit. That's where change often falls apart. The difficult moment arrives and there's a gap between I want to change and what do I do right now? The bridge has to be waiting there already. Now for the part that can wreck the whole process. The lapse. You have one bad night. You eat the thing. Spend the money. Lose 3 hours online. Send the message. Skip the workout. Smoke. Drink. Whatever your version is. Then another thought shows up. See? This is who I am. That thought can do more damage than the behavior itself. Once you decide the night means something permanent about you, you stop recovering from one choice. One bad hour becomes a bad week. I already messed up, so whatever. I'll restart Monday. I blew it. This proves I can't change. That's the trap. The habit happens. Then shame takes over. Then shame makes relief feel even more urgent, so you go back to the same thing again. After a lapse, you don't need a fresh personality. You need the next available decision. Brush your teeth after eating too much instead of going to bed furious with yourself. Move the phone at 1:40 instead of pretending the whole night is wrecked. Delete the cart before checkout. Go home after one drink instead of turning one bad decision into a whole weekend. Open the document for 5 minutes, even if you did nothing all day. You don't have to pretend the lapse was good. You just don't have to use it as evidence that you're hopeless. When you're calmer, ask what happened right before it. What was I feeling? What did I need? What would make this moment easier next time? That question doesn't let you off the hook. It keeps shame from becoming fuel for the same behavior. A lot of people try to change by becoming crueler to themselves. They hope the inner voice will eventually get mean enough to force a different behavior. Usually it just makes relief feel more urgent. And the old habit is still sitting there with the fastest answer. There's a line worth drawing here. Some habits are irritating or expensive. Others are serious enough that you shouldn't be trying to handle them alone. If alcohol, drugs, gambling, nicotine, food, or compulsive behavior is affecting your safety, finances, work, relationships, or ability to get through a day, outside support isn't a failure of discipline. It's taking the situation seriously. A video can help you notice a pattern. It can't replace treatment, a clinician, a support group, or someone in your actual life who knows what's going on. You don't get extra credit for suffering privately. Nobody becomes a person who never wants comfort. That isn't the point. The point is to stop handing every difficult feeling to the fastest thing available. Fast relief can make tonight easier and tomorrow a little harder. It can cost sleep, money, energy, patience, a little trust in yourself. Then, after enough repeats, it turns into a story. I always do this. I have no self-control. This is just me. But that story is too simple. You're a person with patterns. Patterns can be learned. They can be interrupted. They can change when the moments around them change. Usually it doesn't happen through one giant promise. It happens when you notice the first few seconds, when you make the old route less automatic, when you give yourself another place to put the feeling, when you build a bridge before the bad moment arrives, and when you mess up, you come back sooner. That last part matters more than it sounds. Maybe the first goal isn't, I never relapse again. Maybe the first goal is, I don't abandon myself for 3 days because I had one bad hour. That's progress. It may not look impressive from the outside. It's still real. So the next time you feel yourself moving toward the thing you hate, don't begin with, what is wrong with me? Try this instead. What am I trying not to feel right now? Then give yourself one song. You're not trying to become perfect in those 3 minutes. You're just trying to come back into the room. Maybe in that time, you do the smallest useful thing. You drink water, you step outside, you text someone safe, you eat real food, you move your phone, you put your shoes on, you write the message and don't send it. You make the next move a little less automatic. That's how you start getting your life back. Not all at once, in pieces, one small interruption at a time.